Hey y'all, what's up? We're here for a Shadow Priest kill and commentary video for heroic Ula'tek. A lot of people are going to be trying this week or next, so I thought I'd go over what worked for me, what didn't, things I'd like to improve myself, things you might want to look out for yourself. So first we'll go ahead and look at my talents and gear. Talents, nothing too crazy here, just your standard Season 2, 4-piece stuff with your Tentacle Slam talents. The only real decision I made here was I made sure, initially I had this Halo speed reduction talent. I think I was using that on Heroic Nimrus, a Wave Caller. I think it was helpful there, and it's probably helpful for the first boss on Mythic as well. But for this boss, I thought it was kind of annoying for gripping up the little lads. So I took the Fear talent instead, which you don't use, but at least it doesn't slow the things. Gear, again, nothing too crazy. It's 4-piece, just the ones I had. Some of these pieces are still champion track because I just didn't have enough time to do. I did like 50 Mythic Plus, but I still only have a bunch of champion pieces. Crafting, I crafted the offhand. They say to do the wrist and belt. I don't know. I think the offhand's still good if you're coining Heroic Ula'tek, which I'm planning to do next week. I kept the other craft. I held it back instead of upgrading this to 305. I simmed it. It didn't seem like it was that big of an upgrade to get it to 305 this week. I wasn't going to spend Myth Crests on it for sure. And then next week, depending on what I coin, if I get the weapon, I'll probably craft this at 305. If I get the helm, I'll craft a weapon. If I get the neck, I'll craft a weapon. So yeah, that's my talents and gear. We'll go ahead and get started on the fight. So I'll turn on sound low. So nothing too crazy here. The one thing you want to look out for in the opener is just to make sure you don't use your potion because you're lusting 2 minutes in. So just your standard opener, nothing too crazy here. Right after you finish your first round of Mind Blast, the ad will spawn, so you can go ahead and dot that up as well. All the damage you do to the tail transfers to the body, so it doesn't really matter which one you're hitting, as long as you have 2 hunters. If you have 2 hunters, you'll have a hunter's mark on both, ideally. I don't know if our hunter bothered to hunter's mark this thing. These little babies, they die. You don't have, if you're going for like a rank 1 parse, you're going to want to make sure that your Tentacle Slam hits them so that you're getting your dots up. If you get it, nice. But like I said, here they're dying. They don't really do anything. Waves, you're just sort of looking for, which one he tucks in into the lava. You're going to go to that side. And yeah, just watching for the waves behind you. Don't get hit by that, especially if you're carrying an egg. In the first one, only 3 people will be carrying an egg. Later on, you might be carrying an egg. You really can't get hit by these waves. You can follow that tail there. I don't know if you saw it. We'll go back and look at that. But if you're curious about where the boss is going to spawn, you can see it when it goes away. You see that tail there. That indicates which side he's going to because he can go to either of the 2 sides. And then again, the tail's going to spawn, so you get your refresh Shadow Word Pain, and the tail spawns again. Like I said, if you have 2 or more hunters, one of them might mark the tail, they might not. They might only mark the main body and then the heart. So if they don't mark the tail, you're probably better off just staying on the main body. Here, you can pick up an egg if you can. I would say Shadow is probably moderate mobility with the current spec. It's not like insane mobility. It's not a total turret. So you can pick up an egg if you can, and if you do pick up an egg, it's more important that you don't get hit by a wave here, because if you do, you're going to spawn an extra ad, give a stack of a debuff to the whole raid. It's just a huge pain. So don't get hit by the waves, especially if you're carrying an egg, but even if you're not. And then you go over here, and more babies are going to spawn. With the new tier set, it's really important to make sure you're not holding your Tentacle Slams at all. So you really don't want to sit on 2 charges unless something important's happening. So here, again, little babies spawn. If you're going for a rank 1 parse, you want to make sure your Tentacle Slam hits them. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Just get ready for the Rage of the Shackled here. So with this one, this is where it's really important to pump your damage, right? So you want to get your halos going already. I wanted to get into Void form beforehand. In fact, I probably want to check like the exact timing that's better, because you want to you have a vulnerability phase, and then at the end you're just standing around doing nothing for a little bit. So you want to probably check your void form timing, and maybe it's a little bit earlier than I did it. If void form does end before the damage amp, yeah. So you can see I could have done 3 seconds earlier on void form, and it would have been okay. But then the other thing that I found really useful for this was I made just a macro here to target boss 2, which is Venomous Heart. Even if you have other ads, Venomous Heart is always going to be boss 2. So I made sure I grabbed that and then really just pumping damage into the heart here. Just working through your priority list. One thing I struggled with a little bit, like, I don't know, it's just something for me. Sometimes I want to cast my Void Volleys as a high priority, but that buff lasts so long, guys. You can hold that for a long time. Just really make sure you're getting your Mind Blasts out and keeping your, and not spending it. Yeah, so you can see 11 seconds still on Void Form. So yeah, I definitely could have entered that a lot earlier, if I could. You just want to enter it basically as soon as you can. Here, so if you're a Goblin, it's easy. You want to swim across and then gate back, probably. So for this one, since I'm a Goblin, I rocket jumped across and then I gripped a DK. That's especially important if you're coming from the far side of the platform, because like I said, the boss will come to either side when it does that little swimming part, and then you might have to run all the way across the platform for this. So one thing that is not necessarily obvious in the guides here, and it's not really for us, but it's for your tank, but the tank should pull this warden across this little grate here to get it to teleport and spawn the first eggs sooner. That'll help you later on in this part of the phase, because then he'll teleport over here and he'll immediately start hatching the eggs. And then once again, get your dots up on it, hit him with some Void Volleys, but and then your next Tentacle Slam, it should be good to apply VT to the ads. Obviously, we had an LE Shaman just popping off on these things, so they die really fast. If you don't have an LE Shaman, you might get a little bit more pad damage in them. We're breaking these spears. I didn't get one, but you can see the tethers here. Just listen to your raid leader for when you break those. It's basically the same as on Illyria, Crown of the Cosmos. Just run to the edge, and then when your raid leader calls it, break it, and it'll put in this case, it'll put a big dot on the whole raid. Our ad died pretty early here, which I think made it tough for some of the healers, but once the ad dies, then you can run over the eggs and pick one up and then bring it back to the cauldron. This I thought was a good spot for disperse, because just we have that big dot, you have an additional dot if you're picking up an egg, and we're running around, so it's tough for the healers there. I thought this was a really good spot for dispersion, and it helps you get back to the middle part faster. Here you target that big ad, get your dots up, and then we waited for the first interrupt goes off, and then we gate back to the main platform. And then you want to dot up the ads from the other side as well. The main thing that's here, again, all the babies are going to die. You can pad on them if you want. It'll help you get your overall damage up, but the main thing is just make sure that the weakened doom scales die. You want to make sure that those are absolutely dead before the next phase, because we have here coming up another vulnerability. So as you can see, that's why I was holding my Halo and my Void Form, because we're about to get another weakened phase here in 12 seconds. So when that happens again, obviously I'm going to use my boss 2 macro, and yeah, the boss spawns. Once it spawns, that's when I was sort of entering, get the dots up, get your Void Volley out, and then start ramping up. And again, you want to be in Void Form a little bit before it spawns, and then spam your macro and get your dots up on it and go ham. And this time I missed PI a little bit late there, and I really messed up here. Definitely want a Shadow Word Pain on the heart. I don't know how I didn't notice that, but yeah, big damage loss there. So don't be like me. Make sure you get your UI set up so you're not missing that. I'm sure there's good ways you can do the cooldown manager. And then once that happens, we're in the next intermission. This again is another padding spot. The babies here, they'll die. It's important to just grab an egg, and then even more important is to make sure that you're getting in your soaks with your group. So your group leader will probably call it out where you're going. I found it beneficial to be sort of near the middle so that you're closer to your next spot. You don't have to worry about, because Shadow's not super great mobility wise. You have your little powered shield movement buff or feather, but you're still not super fast. So I tried to stay near the middle of the room for those soaks. It's just important to be in them so that your group's taking the right amount of damage. The ads die, and then you're in the last phase. So here again, we're pretty far ahead on boss damage, but I still, boss damage is important. And we had 3 camps where you're doing whatever the same as the liquid strat was. I don't know if there are other strats here. But you want to kill the eggs. Obviously, if you can line up your Tentacle Slam to hit 2 at a time, that's good. The eggs don't have a crazy amount of health, so you can just get your dots up on the 2 ranged ones and then go back on the boss. The next time they spawn on this first platform, you can help out with the second melee one too if they need it. Our melee wanted a little bit of help on those sometimes, depending on exactly where it was. And again, the baby ads, ideally they'll be getting on top of the boss there, so you don't want to get too much threat on them early. You can dot them up, but I didn't find it worth Shadowward painting, and even like VT is probably good, but probably not at the cost of boss damage, because boss damage can get tight, and especially if you have deaths, it's good to have a little bit of buffer here. So the waves, yep, just watching from in front and behind. And then when this tentacle slam hits the platform, that's a moment of good big boss damage. So that's a good time to have fade up. Just a little bit of damage reduction there helps. And then same thing on the next platform, but the main difference being this time, since one platform is gone, we're going to get one big ad. I forget what they're called, maybe the Blighted Soul Collars or something like that. Those are important to kill, because those put a debuff on the raid that can stack if they get up more than one cast. Yeah, the Blight Scale, whatever. So the Shriekers, yeah. So I'm going to make sure I get both my dots up on that and cleave. I think I even target it because we were ahead on boss damage. So I was just killing that Shrieker. Still keeping my dots up on the boss. But yeah, the Shriekers need to die, because if you get a second stack of that in this phase, it's really annoying, because this part right here is scary. After the waves go through, we get this debuff. We need to spread. I used a Disperse here again. It's a scary moment, but if you disperse, you're going to be super safe. And then the Shrieker obviously died before I got a second cast off there, because we only have one stack now. And then again, I dropped Shadowward Pain. So clearly this is a UI fix I need to make, but you are going to make that mistake, so you're going to do more damage than me. Again, we have one melee camp, one range camp, and one middle camp here, spread evenly here. You just want to make sure you're standing in that the whole time to soak up their debuffs so they don't get turned into stone. And this time we have two Blight Scale Shriekers, so getting your dots up on those, and here you really do want to sort of target them, make sure that they're dying, because if you get up to 4 stacks here, you're totally doomed in the last platform. So again, watching the waves, but just keeping the damage up on the Shriekers. They need to die. If they get a second cast off, you are big time in trouble. So you can see here, we're focusing them down. We want to kill them before they do their next cast. And another boss slam here, another fade if you can. And then here's the last part, and this is where I get unlucky. 3 people in your raid are going to get targeted, and they're going to have to just sacrifice themselves. We don't soak them in this last platform, and unfortunately that was me. So normally you would want to save your cooldowns and save them for the next invulnerability phase, but me, since I got targeted, I just sort of made sure I wasn't hitting anybody. These waves were kind of scary, so I just didn't block anybody, and then I just took the gateway and died. Because I was about to get stunned anyway, so I just didn't want to be... I wanted to make sure I left as much room for the other people as possible. But yeah, if you're not stunned by that, if you don't get that debuff, you're not gonna be sad like I am. You're gonna be happy. You're gonna be targeting this Venomous Heart. It does, double damage compared to just hitting the boss, and then your raid's gonna kill the boss, and you're gonna do a ton of damage because you didn't drop Shadowward Pain at all, and you're gonna be happy. You're gonna get your AOTC. You're gonna... If it's next week, you're going to coin it. You're going to get your dagger. You're going to be so happy. You're going to be the happiest you've ever been. But yeah, that's it. That's heroic. So Ula'tek, and that's what I learned. You can do better than I did. Good luck.